bars in New York.
Tweeting down the week. Wow.
Twitter. That was the best tweet.
You just told me we had 2 weeks?
We had 2 weeks, and that's what we came up with.
The best
And you don't even go with an NBA player or
That's part of the NBA fit.
the Blazers had a the Blazers had a great tweet this week.
We already addressed the Blazers tweet.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. It was on Deadspin. It was on all the websites in the world. This is a bit more unique. You've got to find that tweet, and we found it last night.
I don't think we did. I think it's
did.
still out there.
Well,
Holy.
hey, why don't you find one and send it to me, and I'll give you a shout out. Get your followers up.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll do your job for you. Yeah, good idea. Okay. In fact, no one send him any more tweets. Let him find his own tweet because he doesn't do anything. All right, when we return, guys, Kobe Bryant selfies, man versus cheetah, and Meta World Peace's favorite pasta. Sort of tough to say. You're watching the starters. Back with the starters, right into the goods. First topic comes courtesy once again of the NBA.com Hangtime blog, who asked their stable of writers this week. Another great question. It's one I'm going to throw at the table here, and I'm going to throw at everyone watching. Assuming you have a solid, balanced bench, which is the one player, the one reserve that you would want coming off your bench first? I'll start with you, Trey.
It's a little inside the starters, but we picked this stuff last night, and I'm very happy because I chose Taj Gibson as my sixth man, and he
Okay.
had a great game. You asked us, Skeets, if we would rather have kind of a defender or an offensive
Yeah,
player.
because I think this question is a weird way
Yeah.
to say, first off, who do you think's maybe the best six man this year? But also, like, what do you like in a six man?
Yeah, and you could pick a guy like Omer Sheik, who's a great defender, you know, that kind of thing. But Taj Gibson is kind of halfway in between being a very good offensive player and a really good defender. He's a game-changing defender. He can defend anybody from a 3 to a 5. And when you're talking about the Bulls having good second units that in the past 3 seasons or so that have got them back into games, he's been a big reason why. But he's also using a way bigger percentage of his team's possessions this year, and his shooting percentages have gone up. So basically, he's actually a pretty good offensive player now, and he's a really great player.
But an interesting selection because you're going with sort of a big defensive guy instead of a scorer. But let's find out.
Yeah, but you want a guy who can still do some
No,
scoring, right?
absolutely. What about you, Lee?
My guy can absolutely do some scoring if he needs to, but he also can control the ball and run the point if he wants. Manu Ginobili.
Okay, you're going classic.
Yeah, I mean, look, Manu's probably not as good as he has been over the last few years, but he can still shoot the ball and he still can pass the ball, and it's just that confidence.
He just comes in and he runs his team.
Exactly,
When
he can play defense, he can do everything, he can rebound. So Manu for me.
Okay, I'm going with I want a spark plug. I want a guy that comes in and is going to change the tempo of the game. And there are a lot of guys you could pick from in the league, but I'm going to go Isaiah Thomas with the Kings. He's having an unbelievable year. 17.6 points per game, 4.5 assists per game, shooting 45% from the floor, 40% from three. We didn't talk about it the other day on the show, but he outscored the Thunder by himself in the fourth quarter. I know he's up there in terms of fourth quarter scoring. And so, I mean, I'm going with him. If Andrei Kirilenko was healthy, I do like a guy also off the bench that can play sort of multiple positions, guard a lot of guys. He's obviously comfortable with the ball as well. But for right now, I'll go with little Isaiah Thomas.
I like that pick. I didn't really like this question, though. It was kind of confusing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tess.
You've got a good team. I love your Hang Time blog, but you've got a good team. You don't even know what your team is comprised
Okay.
of. Why doesn't it just say, pick your sixth man? I'll pick my sixth man, Jamal Crawford, who should have won last year, but
Okay.
everybody remembered the last 2 months of J.R. Smith's season, so they picked him instead. Jamal is a guy who can shoot if the defense is backing it in. He can create entirely on his own. Just give him the ball. Watch him do some schoolyard things.
I think a lot of people would pick Jamal.
Yeah, and the fourth quarter this year, he's averaging 7 points, which is a good number, and he's shooting 46% from three. A fantastic number in fourth quarters this season. Jamal for me. 17 points per game, by the way.
Let's hear what people think. Hashtag the starters. What's the one reserve you want coming off the bench? And also let us know. Do you want a scoring guy like Jamal? You want a defensive guy, maybe like a Gibson or another big? Let us know, guys. All right, moving on. Next goodie. This past week, ESPN unveiled the 10 finalists for their Fan Hall of Fame, an institution that will induct 3 more diehard sports fans after a nationwide search. This year's nominees include 3 NBA fans, so let's point them out. Clipper Darrell, repping for, obviously, the Los Angeles Clippers. Bruce, Mr. Whammy Resnick, a staple at Nets games for the last 16 years. And finally, Sacramento Kings fan Barbara Rust, who is lovingly known as Sign Lady. So all 3 great NBA representatives there, all worthy of a vote, I would say, and you can go and do that over at ESPN. But if you had to add one more NBA super fan here, and you can't pick Jimmy Goldstein, because he's a fan of the game. We're talking specific fans with teams here. Who would you add? Let's start with Tass. Who you adding to this?
Toronto Raptors, a staple has been Nav Bhatia courtside. This man is fantastic. He is named the super fan, actually. He just loves the game, unlike some other people who sit courtside just because they, for some reason, want to be out there
that an actual
for the
photo?
glamour. Yeah, that's the only photo we could get. Anyway, but this man is a giver. During Indian festivals,
Yeah,
he buys tickets.
Well, he feeds elephants basketballs.
And he buys tickets for thousands of kids in the city to come. 3,000 kids, basically, last year is who he bought tickets for. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. Nab Bhatia, great guy. Also was at Vince Carter's wedding. Little known fact. He became that much of a friend with Vincent.
Okay,
Carter.
that is a really good pick. Trey, who are you adding to the list?
I don't know what this guy's name is. I don't know whose weddings he's been to, but I know he sits behind the broadcast team at every single Lakers game. And a lot of people hate him, but I think he's hilarious. You see him here in the corner.
This
He's
guy.
just ready with his Lakers today. Lakers. Lakers. Right? Come on. How funny is this guy? Maybe you hate him. He brings a sign. He's got like a world peace sign when Meadow was there.
Yeah.
But just so funny. Lakers.
I also love the Lakers guys in the orange or red shirt there in the middle.
Yeah, his evil twin.
Yeah, I like that guy as
He's
well.
done for just for men. That's for sure. But he's toned it down. Your Lakers guy this year. You see him behind there. He doesn't pull out the chain. He's subdued.
Well, the team's not as good as it has been in years past. Maybe that's it. All right. Who are you thinking, Lee?
I like it when a fully grown adult male gets his belly out on live TV, and I think the Thumbor in Oklahoma City deserves it. I mean, not only does he get the guts out to try to put off people, but he also has a luchador mask.
Right. I see that.
And he puts it on, and I think that's great.
I like